10 Best Dungeon Crawler Games. Our first title, Minecraft Dungeons, is a new offshoot from developer Mojang, who created the now iconic building block universe of Minecraft. That game focuses on building, with a minimalist approach to physics and textures in order to create expansive, procedurally generated universes for players to explore and enjoy. Minecraft Dungeons takes the basic look of the original and applies it to the classic dungeon crawler. By mixing a focus on building and crafting, Dungeons offers a fun framework for a brand new adventure. According to the developer's blog, players will fight the evil Archaeologer and his relentless swarm of new and nasty mobs. Details are still emerging about gameplay and mechanics, but players can count on several different modes of play, a single-player experience, four-player local support, and online multiplayer. In addition to a standard version, the game will have a Hero Edition that bags you some extra cosmetic gear and access to DLC. 11th Our Games Kickstarter-funded action rebounds for game. Last Epoch has already made a strong, positive impression on players, despite currently being in open beta. It centers on character and skill customization, and it already features more than a dozen character classes to master and 110 unique skill trees to experiment with. When it comes to gameplay, Last Epoch is a hack-and-slash dungeon crawler with a time-traveling fantasy setting. It sets itself apart with diverse environments, a strong focus on variety, and huge potential when it comes to tailoring your character. Players can choose from 5 base character builds and an additional 16 mastery classes like Druid or Beast Master, and even more are in the works. The official release is slated for later in 2020. So there's still time to explore the early access version. Check out 11th Hour's announcement section for specific release updates, which include the note that costs will go down at release and beta. Players will have ways to receive a variety of different rewards playing during the beta. Supported by multiple operating systems, we recommend Last Epoch for fans of PC dungeon crawlers. In particular, Children of Morta offers colorful pixel art animation and a deep focus on story and the rotating cast of hero characters players use. Another successful Kickstarter concept that has exceeded expectations. Children of Morta is an already popular entry with an immersive storyline and gameplay loop. Children of Morta focuses on the Bergson family, with each family member having unique abilities and class features. They're tasked with defending Mount Morta as the game follows the Bergsons in their fight against an invading corruption across various dungeons and levels. Switch between your preferred heroes and upgrade the entire family's abilities as you level up. Fans of online multiplayer may have to wait a little bit longer for support, but Children of Morta does feature single-player and local co-op. Deadmage has made to substantial, free updates to the base game, and online multiplayer is slated for a future round of improvements. Another popular game in open beta, Tharium Entertainment's Undermine, is an action-adventure roguelike dungeon crawler. It has received positive comparisons to classics in the gaming space, including earlier Legend of Zelda titles or Binding of Isaac, and they're completely justified. The game centers on mining, using solid mechanics, as it tasks players with completing quests and accumulating power-ups to make the next dungeon run easier. It also includes permath, which means restarting with a new named hero when your current character bites the dust. You'll use potions, fight bosses, and pursue quests to rescue others trapped underground and Undermine. There is no official release date yet, but it's looking like 2020 may be its year. Tharium has provided a detailed release roadmap. In the meantime, the core Undermine team is only to creators, but so far they've made regular updates and keep close to their original timeline, based in the Darksiders universe and set before the core trilogy. Darksiders Genesis takes the familiar franchise into a top-down version for a more classic dungeon crawler feel. Airship Syndicate has a growing reputation for their commitment to the genre and format. After the success of Battle Chasers, Night War and Darksiders, Genesis already has a strong fan base. With its new perspective and focus, Genesis focuses more heavily on loot, and will likely appeal immediately to Diablo fans. The story is set after the Four Horsemen's battles in Eden, and the Charred Council has sent war and strife to stop new aggression from Lucifer. In this approach, Genesis offers an appealing new format to show players how the game's universe came to be, making for a fun addition to the larger series. Genesis also marks another big first for the franchise, thanks to the introduction of split-screen co-op gameplay. In cooperative mode, players choose between war or strife for their playthrough, replacing the standard character swapping element from the solo campaign. Torchlight 2 is a hugely popular entry in this series. It instantly pleased fans for staying true to the spirit of the original while making long-requested additions like multiplayer support. Its audience is also still growing, with some extra help from a multi-console port in September 2019. Torchlight 2 offers a lot of familiar gameplay and mechanics, but it expands the scale of your experience and swaps in a new set of character classes. These include Engineer, Technical Heavy Outlander, Ranged Berserker, a mixture of melee and speed features, and Ember Image. The game begins where its predecessor left off, charging players with following the now mad alchemist who helped defeat the town of Torchlight. Fans are holding onto their seats as details emerge regarding Torchlight 3, with a last-minute name change mixing the planned title, Torchlight Frontiers. While at 3 games gears up to release, Torchlight 3 now is a good opportunity to get some time in with its classic predecessor, released in 2018 by Spanish indie developers Digital Sun. Moonlighter has won support for its well-balanced gameplay. It's also praised for its strong visual sensibility, reminiscent of the pixel art style that we saw in Children of Morta. It's a highly accessible action, rebounds per game, and roguelite that is somewhat like Rogue, but not enough to fit into the roguelike genre definition. Its unexpected premise and varied color palette help set Moonlighter apart. In Moonlighter, players explore the town of Ryoka and the surrounding environment through the eyes of adventurous shopkeeper Will. During the day, he manages his shop, but in the evening, he explores the town's old archaeological excavations and abandoned sites to fight enemies and collect loot. And when you finish the base game, Moonlighter offers substantial DLC in the form of Moonlighter Between Dimensions. The 2019 expansion beefs up the base game with loads of extra content and a new playable storyline, including new enemies, equipment, and more, building on the success of a popular early access release in November 2017. Slay the Spire has a large and devoted fanbase thanks to its distinctive combo of deck building and roguelike dungeon crawler gameplay. While elements of the game have changed since its release, fans and critics alike stick around for the well-developed core mechanics. The plot is a little less important here, but in Slay a Spire, players advance up a spire by fighting and looting enemies to build their deck. You confront bosses along the way and can resupply or buy new cards periodically from the game's distinctive blue shopkeeper deck. Building games have seen a strong upsurge in the past few years, with several credited to the already widespread influence of Slay the Spire. And while the format may seem unusual for some devoted dungeon crawlers, it hasn't stopped Slay the Spire from building a commanding presence. As Binding of Isaac approaches its 10-year release anniversary, it's considered one of the best PC dungeon crawlers around. It's also a pioneering roguelike experience, with its influence reaching far enough to touch on several of the other games we've already covered above. The premise of the game and its story is based loosely on the famous biblical story of the binding of Isaac to ready him for sacrifice, but the game's plot diverges into a more modern, very dark storyline of isolation and escape. Isaac fights through hordes of enemies and bosses as he gathers power-ups to acquire special abilities and reach one of the game's many different endings. Despite its darker subject matter and the fact it's nearly a decade old, The Binding of Isaac remains wildly popular for its accessible and surreal gameplay. In 2014, publisher Nicholas released the game as The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which brought the game to modern consoles. As we close out our list with some of the more iconic dungeon crawlers, what could be more appropriate than ending with Blizzard's beloved Diablo 3? It's a classic and a bestseller by just about any definition, with a continuous stream of fan content and ongoing patch support from Blizzard. The game opens with your familiar guy, Deckard Cain, and his niece Leah investigating Twistram Cathedral as they search for evidence of an ancient prophecy. Players jump in as the Nephilim, choosing between 7 different character classes, each with its own distinct mix of features and abilities. Diablo 3 may be one of the oldest titles on our list, but its staying power is undeniable. With the Reaper of Souls expansion to explore, and Blizzard tentatively planning a sequel, there's plenty more to uncover in Diablo 3. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. Magical days, everyone.